Big game week vibes are here, and you have a ton of questions. Let's get to them all on the Michigan Mailbag, this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. I almost said Wednesday, and we used to do these on Thursday. Locked On Wolverines podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you for making us your first listen. Thank you to all of our everydayers out there. We do appreciate all of you. It's the mailbag, which means we're going to get to the leaders and best, then the victors valiant, then the blue crew. We won't get to all the blue crew kind of as usual, unfortunately. Tons of questions to get to. Let's just get right into it, starting with our leaders and best. James Crudup at James Crudup 6. Did the Central Michigan game make you believe in the receivers, offensive line, or corners more than you did before the game? If they struggle, what do you believe is the ceiling for this team? No, not really. I will say this. On the season, I'm kind of even. I think I'm a little more impressed by the receivers. That's not saying a lot. I'm about even on the offensive line. I'm a little down on the corners. But we haven't seen much Zeke Berry. Want to stop seeing Jair getting bit on the double moves all the time. And I was impressed, though, with the younger corners. I thought Jaden Sanders did a good job of holding his own in a game like that. That's good. I thought Elijah Dotson was excellent. I thought he looks good in week 1 as well. And Shamari Earls, in what limited time he played, I thought that was good. But like, we are seeing Samaj as a downfield threat type, right? Shannon Goodwin, we're not really seeing like the steady Freddy, Mr. Reliable, all that. Not really seeing that yet. Donovan McCulley, you can see the moments. And I just want to see more of those guys that I know can do it out there. Andrew Marsh, obviously, like someone had commented, I don't remember who, said he runs angry. You can see that. I want to see more Andrew Marsh. I want to see more Anthony Simpson. Like, I have on good authority that those guys are ready for prime time, and we're just not seeing them for whatever reason. So I want to see those guys. My brother in metal, Michael Wolf, MWolf21. If the Central Michigan game didn't go the way it did and was more along the lines of a 17-35 Michigan win, how would you feel about the direction of this team? Not good. It's pretty simple. Not good. Right. Like I said, in order to feel good about the direction of the team, it had to be something, I think I predicted like 42-6 or something like that. It had to look like that. 63-3 is above my expectations. I don't think anyone expected that type of route. Doesn't matter the opponent. Like, Michigan had those opportunities under Sharon Moore. Didn't get them. Fresno State was tough in his first year, but they didn't get it against Arkansas State. They didn't do that against New Mexico. So if it would have just been like yet another like kind of close game, I mean, like, let's be honest, like a lot of Lloyd Carr games when Michigan was like truly an elite team kind of went that 35-17 type of route. Right. I remember 2017, obviously we don't want to talk about the first game, but like I went to the Eastern Michigan game, and like that game, Eastern Michigan, I think had a lead at halftime. You know, Michigan didn't win that one convincingly. Ball State the year before, you know, I think they had a lead at halftime. I know it was a closer than usual game, and that was a penultimate game of the regular season. So, which is kind of weird to think Ball State came the week before Ohio State. But yeah, I don't know that. I definitely think that I would have felt pretty bad about it, because this doesn't, I mean, even though they went on and beat Ohio State and Alabama, I wouldn't have had that much confidence that they could beat Nebraska or USC. And now I think that they needed that confidence just as much as anybody. Jonathan Joseph at JJoseph2156. Which player hasn't performed the way you'd expect and might turn it on still this year? Jair is one of them. I would say, let me think. Greg Crippen, I want to see take things to another level than what we've seen. And then Shannon Goodwin, for all of the talk of how he's Mr. Reliable and Steady Freddy. It's too early for me to really I know it's 3 games, but it's too early for me to really have, because there just wasn't like anything. Jordan Marshall would be the only other one. Like, I'd been on record all offseason as saying it was going to be Justice Haynes, and that's been what it is. But I still expected more from Jordan Marshall. I'll say that. Finishing us out in segment one, we'll try to end the leaders and best a little early so that we can get to more of the blue crew. Spencer Whitmore, at Spencer Whitmore, favorite away jersey combo. I like the all whites with maize plants. Well, those are just whites with maize because they're always wearing white tops, right? It's funny. At one point, I would have said the all whites. I like the white top, blue pants personally. But then again, I mean, the best away jersey combo was what they wore at Penn State, though, in 2021. Am I right? 2021? The white tops, the maize pants, but the maize accessories, that was the coolest. I like the blue pants the best in general, but I like all three of the away go-tos personally. But I like the blue pants. I just think that's a sharp look. It feels like a bigger game. They started wearing it in 2021 against Wisconsin. That's the look that I like the best. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got so much more to get to. Let's get to the rest. Let's start with the Victor's Valiant here in just a moment. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on a 2 to 6 player projection, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing PrizePicks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking projections like Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards or Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. Have fun doing that with the Lions and picking touchdowns, by the way. That's a fun way to play. The best part is even if one of your picks misses, PrizePicks invented the flex play, so you can still double your money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I'm missing the gym in the north. Start out to the Victor's Valiant. Where are you, buddy? I miss you. Come back to us. Always put you up at the top. Let's go with Great Bambino XX Lesso Cloud X. Guarnero looked pretty good at guard, although it was only Central Michigan. Do you think there's any chance we see some reshuffling in the offensive line even when the unit returns to full health? I hope so. I thought Guarnero looked better than Brady Norton in the Oklahoma game. I mean, he was only in for like 1 or 2 plays. I thought he looked excellent then too. So I would like to see him in the mix kind of regardless. I think he looked very, very good. But yeah, I hope there's some reshuffling. I don't know exactly how you do it. I know there's a question later that says, can we move Link inside and then bring in Blake Frazier? Because Frazier's looked really good. Sprague's continued to look good. El Hadi obviously has been improved when he was in before the injury. Crippen's left some to be desired. Afobe's been a little hit or miss. I thought he's done okay. And Brady Norton, I hate to say it, man, it's not been good on his end. But I thought Guarnero looked really good last week, and I thought he looked really good against Oklahoma as well. But yeah, I feel like they need some shuffling for sure. Perry Mitchell at Perry Mitchell 08. Josh Downs was Chip's most productive wide receiver at North Carolina, and he's almost exactly Samaj's size. Could Samaj be the most productive wide receiver this year from the slot? He already gets more targets. Maybe that's a question for the Muddlin with Jack Tutlin podcast. I love it. I think so. I mean, he's already the most productive receiver. It's weird because it's kind of hard to tell at this time of year. I know it's been 3 games, but like we could be sitting there saying that because like I could predict that now, and then by the end of the year we could be sitting there talking about anyone else, Channing Goodwin, or Donovan McCulley, heck, Anthony Simpson. We could be talking about any number of guys because it is a long season, and someone could just come on and then they could just have that hot hand and they could just ride it. I do think it's possible with Samaj. It seems like they have a rapport, Bryce and Samaj. And minus him playing with an apparent head injury against Oklahoma, like I think he's been pretty good so far this year, personally. Wolverine Libertatis appears we're going to pass to open the run moving forward. Helps the O-line a lot in run execution based on this small sample size. How does this game plan size up against Nebraska's defense and their strengths and weakness? I don't think that they're necessarily going to pass to run. I think that it might be also run to run. And what I mean by that is having Bryce Underwood run the football, keep the football, designed runs. They didn't have a ton of designed runs last week, but there's some RPOs and things of that nature. I think that's kind of more of what they need to do. Now, Nebraska has the number one pass defense in the country after 3 games. They did play a really good Cincinnati team that's throwing like 300 yards a game outside of the one game they played against Nebraska to open the season. But then outside of that, it's Houston Baptist, and I think the other, was it Akron was the other team that they played? Am I misremembering? I feel like it was Akron. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly how much of that's a paper tiger, right? Like we've talked yesterday about how Michigan used to go up against like Penn State, in 2022. Oh, they're going to stop the run. That's what they do. They stop it against everybody. And then Michigan ran for 400 yards. So, but I think it's going to be more of, they're just going to find ways to move the ball one way or another. And we'll see if that works against Nebraska. I have a hard time really figuring out this game. I have a really hard time figuring out. I think Michigan's more talented, but Nebraska, I think, has played overall better than Michigan. But Nebraska didn't play Oklahoma in week 2. And I think Oklahoma so far looks pretty good with John Mateer at the helm. But again, it's hard to tell. They've looked like one of the better SEC teams to this point. But week 3, kind of hard to really tell yet much of anything. Michigan's armchair quarterback. I need this one answered if you could find out for us. And he had quote tweeted Austin Meek, my colleague over at the Athletic. Do you think Biff is saying Bryce is unbelievable or the Labrador Retriever is unbelievable? He's saying Bryce is unbelievable. That's what he's saying. He's saying my Labrador Retriever could coach him because Bryce is that good. That's what he's saying. I'm not the one at William Cawthorne 9. Am I wrong for feeling this early in the season the D-line is overrated? I don't share that belief. Have they managed to really break through? Not necessarily, but it kind of reminds me a lot of 2022. I think it's a very good defensive line. I still think that guys are still kind of working their way in, getting the rust off. We've talked about the holds the last 2 weeks. I think that they're doing a very good job. And the thing is week 1, you saw New Mexico go quick game. Week 2, you saw John Mateer roll out a lot and them kind of do different play designs off of his ability to move. And then you saw a couple different things in week 3 when Labas was back there, the D-line cooked. You have to include Jaishawn Barham as a D lineman in the game last week because he never lined up as a linebacker. He was always an edge rusher. And I thought he was extremely disruptive. So far, I'd say Rayshon Benny and Damon Payne have been the best up front. I think that they've been really good. Trey Pierce has had his moments. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen really much of anything from Trey Williams. And Enoetta has done some decent things, but mostly kind of in the rubric of what we saw last year. Ikewana hasn't played, and Manuel Beagle obviously had a big play last week. So I think they're on track. I don't think that they've been overrated whatsoever. I think that teams have done what they can, whether it be quick game, moving the pocket, or essentially holding to try to keep them at bay. But I think the fact that they have to hold so much, and even though it's not getting called, they're still doing it. I think that has kind of negated Michigan's ability up front so far. Three games in, what's your overall grade for this team? I'll go with a C+. They could have really blown out New Mexico, even though I think that was a well-coached team. I think they got to be bigger than some of the adversity they faced. Oklahoma had a terrible game plan. I'm not backing off of that. Defense played well against Oklahoma, as well as it could, really. To hold that team to 24 points on the road is actually pretty good. I think we're going to be looking at that and saying, like, wow, by season's end. And then, obviously, they did a really good job against Central. Offensively, it was pretty good in week 1, awful in week 2, and great in week 3. Still want to see more. Still want to see them being able to fire off the ball, offensive line-wise. Still want to see them being able to run the ball more consistently without the Bryce, run. But that does change the calculus a bit. Final question from William. How should the backup quarterbacks feel about Moore keep saying if you run your QB, you better have 2? They should feel like they've probably got to be ready, but I think Bryce... I echo what... I think Steve Day said this to me. I think he said it somewhere else. Oh, he said it on his post-game show with his son. So he had said that that he feels like Bryce is less likely to be hurt if he's running the football than standing back in the pocket as a sitting duck. And I kind of agree with that. right? Because he's just a bigger body. You see, even when he's back in the pocket, I've seen at least 3 plays over the course of the last 3 games where guys just hit him and bounce right off of him, and he kind of stands over him like, now what? Pistons Famo at Pistons Famo. Overall, how do you think we match up versus Nebraska? I am not really sure. They're really good at throwing the football. It's going to be incumbent upon Michigan to get pressure in this game and get Dylan Raiola rattled. We've seen him not look great when you get him off of his spot. He's not a traditional dual threat. They have a lot of different receivers that they can throw to. It's not just Dane Key. It's that Ja'Cory kid, another guy whose name I can't recall off the top of my head. Their defense is excellent against the pass. They really shut down things in coverage. I've only watched one of their games in full, and that was week 1. And I mean, they completely shut down Cincinnati. So but they're not necessarily great against the run, and they're not necessarily great running the football. So Michigan's going to have to weirdly kind of get back into its own rhythm of being able to force the pass, get them into long passing situations, and then getting off the field, and then on the other end converting on third downs and being able to run the football. But I obviously I think they'll get more than 100 yards passing. They'll be the first team to do so against Nebraska this year. That's kind of what I think. Edwin Simmons at Simmons_Edwin. Happy Thursday, my brother in Christ. Why is the general media feel Nebraska is a team better than us and they beat Cincy by 3 points? Both teams made a lot of mistakes, and I just think it's the Michigan's not allowed to get better. And then you see the way it looked against Oklahoma. I think that everyone felt very justified in that, and they might be right, they might be wrong. I don't know yet. How are we looking at the corner spot? Will Earls play Saturday? I mean, he sounds like he can play now because we played this last week. I think it's more incumbent that you get Zeke Berry back. Let's see, how many total yards will Underwood have Saturday? I'm going to go with, I think he's probably not going to have the greatest stat line. I don't think it's going to look like last week. I'll go with 175 yards passing and 80 yards rushing. So basically 255 yards total. I think it'll be somewhere around 58% passing. A little better than Oklahoma, but not a heck of a lot. They got some sticky corners, man. Michigan's going to have to scheme some guys. But I think it'll be better by virtue of having your tight ends back. There's that part. Clark at Blue for Life 8. Is it time to worry about Zavada or just have faith he'll figure it out? I think you just have faith he'll figure it out. He had a couple misses last year too. It was just the long ones. Both of them that he's had this year were kind of those intermediate ones. He had a couple of those last year too. It's just we forgot about him because he had so many great long kicks. At Yoder77, how is Nebraska's defensive front? Will Michigan be able to run and get pushes consistently with a banged up OL? I think they will. I mean, Cincinnati was able to. They had the former Ohio State guy, Evan Pryor, back there. We have to caffeinate and hydrate here. Probably the opposite of hydrating. I think Michigan will be able to run. But, I think it's going to be interesting because will Nebraska load up the box? Will Michigan be smart and go with more spread formations? Will Michigan run Bryce Underwood early? Will they be less predictable? And will they stop doing the stupid pistol that they did against Oklahoma? They did last week. They didn't use it much. So I think a lot of those things will manage. Drawn Snavely, I'm worried about our DL. I know you've said the rest haven't been giving us calls, but do you think the only reason for the DL slow start? If not, what would be a reason? And obviously just laid all that out. So just basically shout out to you, Drawn. Mike Matthews at Michigan Mike 7. Will Michigan keep Jaishawn Barham in a Micah Parsons type role and let Cole Sullivan play in the second linebacker spot? Well, Cole played a little bit, but Jimmy Roller was more the guy. TJ guy should be back. I know I got a question I know I'm probably not going to get a chance to get to in the bottom end here. According to Josh Henschke, it seems like there was something disciplinary that kept TJ guy out. So I think you'll see a mix of things, right? You'll see TJ guy out there. You'll see Jaishawn. I think it's dangerous to be able to move Jaishawn around as a chess piece. What I kind of want to see is them use Jaishawn, have him line up as an edge and then drop into coverage and vice versa. It'll be interesting. But yeah, Jimmy Roller, I think, is still that next guy, not Cole Sullivan. Jacob Shavaria at Shavaria. Since Biff told us the game plan versus Oklahoma was running the ball to drain the clock, it's safe to assume that Chip wasn't calling the plays and Sharon made the decision to run it into a wall all night. I mean, I more than heavily hinted at that last week. So I'll just keep it at that. Nunya Biz at U of M fan _for life. Thoughts on the injuries over the last 2 years. Does it show how vital Herbert was, or just how unfortunate bad luck with injuries that we were able to avoid from 21 to 23? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think Justin Tress is doing a good job, but yeah, it's unfortunate. It's kind of like, what are they doing in practice is my question. Gary Moore at G-Dog 4UM7. Excuse me, what's the point of having backup quarterback come in late if you're not going to let him run the regular offense? Davis didn't throw a single pass, and isn't it time we stop the sportsmanship of kneeling for 4 straight plays to end the game? Let him play. No, they need to be. I'd like the sportsmanship. That's fine, and I'm fine with them running. At that point, because it was already up high. You got, because the other thing can be said too. Like, I don't think that Jaden Davis is not. He might be the backup right now. I think their hope and plan would be, if they needed to go to a passer, it would be Mikey Keene, who has dressed the last several weeks. But getting a guy like Jasper Parker going and Bryson Kuzdal going, I think those are both important things too. I have no problem with it. I don't think they trust Jaden Davis in the passing game, and I think you saw why in the spring game. Finishing us out in segment 2, the Rican Raider at Hamstand 87. Hope you're doing well, sir, and Zuri is too. She's crazy, but she's doing all right. If you had to pick new concessions for the big house, what would they be? I don't know. I don't know what concessions they have. I'm not up there. So, Slows, or like, actually there's a barbecue place up in Flint that I'd bring down. Scratch Barbecue. That place is awesome. They have the best. I was disappointed when they closed Fire Hall down here in Fenton and changed it into a Hancho Fuego. But Scratch Barbecue up in Flint is just as good as Fire Hall as far as their brisket's concerned. So there you go. My favorite. All right. We've got plenty more to come and not enough time. We got to cap this thing at 30 minutes on the video. And I started to roll in about 30 seconds beforehand, and I'm wasting time telling you that. So we're going to continue on here in just a moment. But before we do, college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's just be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals and talking about going to your favorite games for just $25. The app makes it super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before buying, and with the zone deals, I love those two. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and then you save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, Blue Crew, we got about 6 minutes left here. So let's get to it. Sean Malcolm, will Samaj be used more on downfield passing plays instead of gimmicks and end arounds? I mean, we've seen that already. We've seen it in all 3 games to this point. So I would venture to say yes, because we've actually seen it. I'm not trying to be snarky. Sorry, you really gotta. I've been struggling with staying awake ever since. So just a quick aside. I took beta blockers for my flight down to Oklahoma, my 3 flights down to Oklahoma City. And ever since then, I have been like abnormally tired. Abnormally. I know I need to probably hydrate more with my my drip drop than I have since I got back. But I'm just abnormally tired. So that's why we're caffeinating at 4:26 in the PM. Probably won't be able to sleep. Ethan McClellan, was Jaden Davis not throwing a pass an indictment on his play? Does incitement. I know you mean indictment. Or was it simply running the clock to being up that much? I think the answer to that is just yes. It's just yes. I sound like Jeremy Clarkson. Yep. Yes. The Jag. I'm trying to do. I got to do my little impressions. Mark Zimmerman. Appreciate you professing your faith publicly and open to engage in a respectful manner. It is my pleasure. I'm here to serve, essentially. I don't believe I'm alone in wondering if our offensive line can hold up against any defense in the Big Ten. Seems like they get pushed around too much for their size. What are your thoughts? Yeah, that's kind of part of my reticence. I mean, I think that you see good pieces, and I think like Michigan might need to move the pocket a little bit more, and that's where Bryce running can help things. Because then suddenly, like, they can't get too far upfield, right? Like, they have to try to keep contained. They'll keep everything in front of them. That's why they needed to go to this sooner than they did. Ramiz Herrick, thank you very much for the shout out. My pleasure, my guy. It was good meeting you a couple weeks ago. Do you think Jaishawn Barham at edge and rotating Guy and Moore was the missing piece for the DL to live up to preseason expectations? Do you start feeling better now about Goodwin winning the job since we spoke? I feel worse about Goodwin. Like after game one, I felt pretty good, and then he hasn't really been much of a factor each of the last two games. He's had some drops, and I don't like that. I still want to see Anthony Simpson based off of what I know about him. And want to see more Andrew Marsh. Just got to get him going. You know, he's a true freshman. As far as the Jaishawn, I think there will be a rotation there, but I think that certainly helps, right? Just put guys in positions to succeed, and that's one of those things that they can absolutely do there. Ryan Hoover at Ryan M. Hoover. What is the hesitation of trying a combo of Link at left guard, Frazier at left tackle, even in practice to see, not suggesting they try something in a game that they've never practiced? Maybe they have. Coaching staff, when asked, treat it like a non-starter. What do you think? I mean, it'd be interesting to see that. Joe's still going to be out for a couple more weeks. I mean, they always say we got to get the best five out there, and then I feel like they don't do that. So, because Guarnera to me is one of the best five, as what we've seen so far. And Frazier's looks like he's one of the best five. Again, we don't see practice, but like when he's in games, he looks great. So and Link has been very good so far this year. I have no complaints about Evan Link this year so far. I think he's been one of the solid guys on the line. Rob with a long number after his name. Offensive line, please. How do we improve weekly so that by OSU weekly we'll be ready to dominate them? I don't know how, right? They just got to keep working. I don't have any way to tell you how do they do it. I'm not a coach, to be honest. Wink Martindale enthusiast at GL State Politics. The running game overhyped or is just bad blocking? That's my question. Well, teams have been. Here's the other part of it. Up until last week and including last week, teams were just loading up the box in what looked like obvious run plays, and said like, okay, we've got 7, 8 here. You've got 5 or 6. Good luck. And their linebackers have kind of scraped over to the ball quite often. Hence, like even when guys have like sometimes the line has done a good job at that initial push, but they're overmatched because there's too many blockers there. And so even when you've seen some of the guys get the initial gap, there's linebackers there waiting, and it's happening too soon essentially for the offensive line to get off block number 1 to the next one. So they just got to, they've got to be smarter about running into loaded boxes and things like that. That was what they did over and over against Oklahoma. It was maddening. Chad Woodard at ChadWood81. If we go 3-1 the next 4 games, what are our chances of making the playoffs? It depends on what happens in that final game. I know we can all sit and predict Michigan beating Ohio State, but if they go 3-1 and in the next 4 games, which would mean losing to either. Probably, I'm assuming either. Well, I mean, I guess there's 3 losable games in the next 3 weeks, 3 games, right? Like, because I don't think Wisconsin, but Nebraska, Washington, and USC are all losable games. They'd be in a good spot, I'd say that. But kind of hard to tell. That would probably bring it up to that last game, probably. Lord Farfetch. Why did Ty Haywood have a practice jersey on? He looks solid though. I don't know. I'm guessing he was wearing the same number as someone else in the game, but I didn't really investigate, to be honest. Wolverine Warrior at Wolverine Champ 1 with throwing more per game plus Bryce Underwood's throwing capabilities. What's the next step before landing some massive wide receiver recruits? I think you've probably already done everything you need to do to land massive wide receiver. You need transfer portal guys, not recruits, right? Because like you can't trust on freshman wide receivers. You want some older guys. And really what Bryce needs is like some junior, senior types next year that can come to Ann Arbor and help him out a little bit. Gary Klein, do you think that moving Barham to end is product of a lack of the end production and more of a wanting to get the best player on the field? With adding in Cole Sullivan, he is so fast, I don't see how he can sit on the sidelines. I think it's just, getting the best 11 plus, I mean, whatever happened with... what's his face? Okay, that's, I think, all the time we got. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with Jack Tuttle tomorrow. Peace.